It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It appears we have a quorum. Yeah, I talked to him today. He's going to be here tonight. That's what he said. He can come late, so we'll just go on with it. Do we have any, I'd like to call it to order. And is there anything to amend the agenda or approve to the agenda?
Did you want to move the kids? There's going to be some kids singing. Am I correct? Do you want to do that first?
Well, I talked to Carrie previous to the meeting, and as quick as this part goes through, and being that Ken isn't here yet, maybe it'd work good if we just read this real quick, because it's only going to take a few minutes.
Okay.
With that, we have some recognition of concerning any citizen comments or requests to speak to the board on agenda items. And then we have some correspondence and recognition of students and or staff. And the way that has been done in the past, I have always read them off verbatim as they're wrote. And thinking about it, Ryan or Carrie, who actually are the people who document and watch this and are better qualified, I think, and it actually enhances the awards if they would do it this time.
Our recognition for this month's meeting, a number of football and band and choir recognitions. I'm going to start off with the football all-district selection. First team, Trevor Erickson, Justin Negard, Jesus Rivera, Mitch Slumbum, Mario Topete, and Logan Venort. On the second team for all-district, Mason Erickson, Dalton Waterman. Honorable mention, Ricardo Rodriguez and Mario Topete. The defensive MVP for the district was Logan Venort. Also, first team academic, all district selections, Carly Deckers, Amber Harry, Shannon Jasper, Ashley Peterson, Jenna Rader, Callie Schmidt, and all honorable mention academic selections, Mason Erickson. Logan Venort was first team All-State Des Moines Register. This is the first time in school history that a player from West Sioux has been named to this team. So very exciting opportunity for the entire team and Logan. So congratulations to all of those student athletes. The middle and high school band and choir, I want to recognize them for the amazing performances on December 5th and December 12th, and hope everybody had an opportunity to hear them. They did an excellent job. Thank you, Mr. Whitt.
With that being said, Mr. Cook is now present. Thank you. Carrie would like to make a little bit of an introduction to what's going to happen.
Yeah, this is we're going to take a little field trip to the band room because our elementary honor choir is there. So, are you ready? They're the 4th and 5th grade students that actually have chosen to be a part of this choir. So they weren't chosen. They volunteer their recess time. They give up some of their time to be a part of this choir. So.
Snowflakes falling all over town, slipping, sliding, everybody rushing around. There's an icy chill in the air, telling us that winter's really here. Oh,
for the B section on the ESL classes. The people that were going to present that to us this evening are not here yet. So in light of that, what we're going to do is go to the old business, which is approved revisions to the board policies in 2 different areas. So with that being said, in old business, which is an action item, we have 2 policies in front of us. Policies of the 215.1E1-219 and the 506.1, which is board meeting minutes, association membership, board of directors member development and training, the board of directors member compensation and expenses, and budget adoption and certification. And then we also have the student records section. If all the board members had a chance to properly go through all them, read them, have any questions, comments, because this is the time when we actually adopt them as they're read, as they're stated. Is there anything you want to go through, Mr. Collins? With it, okay. Basically, the last couple of meetings that we've had have been directly involved with what we're doing at the time, meaning board minutes, and last time it was with chain of command and so forth like that. So if there's any questions, comments, make sure we ask. If not, I'd like to entertain if anybody has a motion regarding this.
Make a motion to approve.
Jeff Isles has had a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, Dawn almost seconded. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. From there, we'll go on to the consent agenda. I think what we'll do is, like we've done in the past, is we'll just go through the whole agenda and then we'll take action on that. We have the November minutes in front of us. There's 2 different sets of minutes. Everybody had a chance to go through them from the 7th of November and from the 18th of December. Is it common, Danny, and some of the boards I've served on before where they actually read them? Is that common?
I've never seen it at the school
Okay.
board.
Okay. If not, we'll move on to the next item on there, which is the financial side. It's the invoices. Any questions for Danny or Randy, or even perhaps myself, regarding any individual item or in general? Ken?
I spent an hour with Danny.
Okay.
I got my questions answered. Thank you.
I went through the system today with Danny also, and I had some questions they were answered to me. Anybody else? If not, we'll move on to the financial side, and I'd like Mr. Collins to take over from there.
I have a few comments. The numbers at first blush were so good that I asked Danny to recheck, and they're accurate on the revised minutes that or the revised agenda that you have. You know, the cash was better than what I thought it would be, because we had a lot of our authority last year wasn't backed by cash because of the enrollment increase. But cash is hanging in there, and I really appreciated the conversation I had with Danny, because she reminded me that this year the revenue has increased significantly, and it is backed by cash. again, basically we can trace that back to our enrollment of picking up 67 new students last year. So yeah, the numbers are looking really good. The cash is holding up better than what I anticipated. If you look at the fund balances on our general fund, and Danny's throwing in some new reports, and I like those, Danny. I think they're easier to read and really nicely summarized, so you might want to give her some feedback about what makes sense to you and what's easy to read. This shouldn't be rocket science. It should be easy to understand. I looked at the general fund balance. Our revenue is up $230,000, again, basically due to enrollment increase. Our expenditures, though, and this is the key, are only up compared to last year $110,000. So when you throw those two together, we're about $120,000 ahead of the game. That's nice. That'll end up in our reserve, and so we're building at 1.8 million, at least mid-year, to closer to that 2 million. Kudos again to Carrie, because another example of why revenue is up is because we got a $100,000 grant that helped to fund a teacher, which then would be an expense, but you kind of get a feel for the ebb and flow. You heard our elementary music teacher, we increased that FTE. So yeah, we are spending more, but so far the revenue is outpacing that. On the food service balance at $130,000, that's a little unusual. Most food service budgets run in the red. Mrs. Anderson and I have talked a bit about taking a close look in the kitchens, and anytime we can upgrade equipment to become more efficient, I'd like to see us do that, because a lot of those dollars come out of general fund. As an administrative team, we've also talked about some things that we plan to discuss with food service as far as quality and variety. Pepple and State Penny are hanging in there. So, overall, halfway through the school, now this reflects only 5 months, but numbers are looking really, really good budget-wise.
Brian, do we have anything coming up in your plan with maintenance and M&Rs coming up that?
We do have a number of things that we'll be taking a look at and actually projecting out to get bids. One of those that will hopefully be coming either in the month of January and February will be a possibility of replacing the elementary boiler, which is a significant cost, around $100,000 I budgeted for in that. Also, can do a mower for the facility up here. Currently, we've kind of been running in repairs on that one, so to bring that up. And then also the possibility of some transportation things for expenditures. So we are budgeted for it, but nothing that has come up that we have not budgeted for yet. But we'll be looking at for obviously summer work, so we can get those approved as soon as possible, so those people who have an opportunity to plan ahead and get those on schedule, get them in plenty of time completed before school would start back up in the fall.
Because you actually have, what is it, a 5-year plan?
Yes.
Any questions with this report or any of the conversations? If not, thank you, Randy, and thank you, Ryan. We have a couple items regarding personnel. Mr. Collins, could you go through that with us? I see your part now.
I'll defer to Carrie and Ryan.
Okay, Carrie, go ahead with
Yep.
Megan.
The resignation.
Yes.
Megan Cross has resigned her position effective beginning of February and end of January will be her last week. Her husband got a promotion. He works for Pella. They're moving him to Pella to be at the headquarters, which is great, exciting for them, but a loss for us, emotional for us, because we're pretty well connected. She's very well connected to the staff, the students, and the families in the community. So rather than hiring mid-year and maybe not having the best candidates, we'd like to postpone that position, hiring a full-time teacher for spring or summer, and do a long-term sub at this point. That's the plan. So we have really good subs in the district, and we'd like to look at hiring long-term from that.
So it'd be one individual,
Yeah, yes.
I mean, not an
Not
array?
a, no, no one person would take that position, just the rest of this year.
So long-term.
Long-term substitute, yep.
Brian, would you want to go through Jake's?
Yeah, Jake was able to acquire a position in Lincoln, Nebraska. He had been our assistant high school wrestling coach for 1 year, and it was the job lined up with his college degree. And so we wish him well. He did an excellent job, and I'm sure he'll do an excellent job down in Lincoln in his position. And the contracts that we're going to offer to replace that position, Mark Venora would be my recommendation to replace that position for the high school wrestling assistant.
And that's further on down the line, I
Right.
believe, in our agenda.
Right, just to give you an idea of who I'd be
Okay.
looking at for that.
With all that being said, are there any other further comments regarding the resignations of Nathan Cross and Jake Vanderham? If not, could I entertain a vote to approve the items on the consent agenda?
What about the preschool? Yeah, the preschool associate.
So Carrie, go ahead.
Yep, I can
Cover
talk
it.
about Amy. Yep, Amy's that part-time preschool associate based on her first step 1 of the contract. She's the half-time preschool associate based on the ratio in the preschool. Why we needed to have, we had to have her because of numbers.
Okay, so it's not because of ISL or anything? And Ryan had stated for Mr. Mark Bernard, assistant high school wrestling coach, to replace Jake Vanderham's position.
And just to give you an indication, the reason for step 5 would be that Mark carries 7 years of head coaching experience.
From
From
him,
yeah.
from somewhere
Yeah.
else. Any questions regarding that? I'm sorry I missed that part. I was looking at the computer. If not, could I entertain a motion? Okay, Tim McKinney made the motion to approve as read. Is there a second?
Yes.
Jeff Isles, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to the reports from Carrie and from Ryan and Mr. Collins.
Can you go first?
That's fine.
On for first portion, curriculum instruction, we have some semester tests starting this week. Wednesday afternoon, we'll have one set of tests, and then Thursday and Friday. This year, we did a little different plan. I did place one report at the tail end of your the report there on the plan test. In previous years, this was an optional test that we just gave the option to students to take who were interested in getting an indication of it early on their success for ACT. It's given to sophomores. This year, after conversation with Mr. Hansen and myself, we decided to get some really good information to see where we were. We wanted to test every student on the plan test, and we were very pleased with the results. And because ACT, we still, again, we don't test all of our students. So this one is very similar to the ACT test, but just given to sophomores. And you know, as you can see from the results there, in all areas, we score above the national level, and also in subject matter, and also when we break it down into pre-algebra, geometry, rhetorical skills, and usage of mechanics. And so we don't really have anything to base this on in previous years because, of course, we had such a limited number taking the assessment when it was optional. But based on what we have right now and basing it on the comparison of national norms, very pleased with what we have. Building and grounds, you can see as you go into the gym, the new mat system that's been installed on the east wall really added to the gym. I'm very pleased with the result. And then, of course, the enrollment and what has been happening throughout the year, we remain steady from the last month. 3 students in and 3 students out.
Do you have a comparison between on that plan test to the state norms instead of the national norms?
They actually don't provide an Iowa norm set in the plan test.
We're always better than national, but I guess we can't see where we are with the state.
Yes, I honestly, because of the plan test being a national test and not breaking it down by the states, just like ACT, I wouldn't unfortunately be able to provide that for you.
Is there any other states individually or?
That require the plan test?
Well, not that require it, but that you could compare against versus the national.
I would have to check with Mr. Hansen to see if that would be
I
a
was just
possibility.
curious.
No, it's a good question.
Not typically, because the plan isn't required, so yeah, it's hard to come up with state. It is still a good in-house tool. This will be a fantastic measurement of where we're going with academic achievement, because it typically predicts low. So we're sitting here in the 19s, and this is every kid, every sophomore being tested in a 3-4 hour setting.
So is this business, oh, sorry, go ahead.
And it also provides individual information and item analysis data that we're using in our January in-service to break apart the test information to see which questions our students were more successful at, which ones they may have been less successful at, to really review our scope and sequence to determine are there gaps in any areas that we need to focus on, is there an ability if we improve instruction at this frame or this time in this content area to improve those student scores or to help them to improve.
Also, students can get the test book back and they can see which ones they missed.
So it's broken down per individual, they can, okay.
And each individual student Mr. Hansen went in and went through each of their results in their homeroom and provided them the information from their assessment. So it gives them a very good indication on the probability of success on the ACT. And so it's a really, really good beneficial test for those that are looking at going to a four-year college or university, providing them that what areas they need to work on before they go take that ACT, possibly the end of their junior year or beginning of their senior year.
So do you use the same scale as the ACT?
It is based on the same structure of it. It's not necessarily the exact, for what we say, a 21 or a 22, but it's on the same scope of it. Because it doesn't build from that 17.6.
What does the distribution look like?
The distribution of where the bell curve, I don't know exactly what the bell curve would look like.
I was just curious if you had
Higher on the
10
on the
students
high
that
end.
did really, really well that pulled the average up.
I'll take a look and see what they had on there actually.
It just seems strange that we don't have Iowa comparison.
Well, it's expensive.
To me.
Yeah, so every district does a mandate, and if you don't test enough of the sophomores, they can't get a norm.
Reliable data.
Yeah.
Invoice.
So it's just not something that's
We're
provided. by
the
the-
only ones doing it?
No, but
It
it's
must not be
scattered, it's a
required.
district choice.
The bill
Yeah, what's the-
for it was in this month's invoices.
And actually, there actually is a $10 per student charge. And
$500 or
actually-
$600. I think
Yep,
it was.
and what we did with that is, actually, the state of Iowa provides dollars specifically in your budget to go towards testing materials. We use that budget to purchase that. I'm just kind of looking through to see if there's anything specific in regards to your question on bell curve and the data or information.
Are they similar results, do you believe, as far as ACT? I mean,
It's really,
or maybe
the
not.
difficulty with this one is you're taking one grade set out of this grade. And in the past, this grade has been pretty successful on standardized assessments. And so until we get more years of data to look at, I really can't say if this is directly reflective of everything. It does match up pretty well with ITBS data that we've had and other standardized assessments that we're seeing.
And this would really be valuable in 2 years when the sophomores or seniors and we get the ACT. I think wasn't this your A strategy that you had in order to address the concern last year of ACT scores?
That's correct.
So it gives the kids practice, some really good feedback, also an interest inventory. It
That
gives
is
them
correct,
guidance
yep.
for career. It helps sophomores start thinking about the future, because really the one variable that will have the most impact on ACT is the courses they take. So as a sophomore, they start understanding, yeah, I better get into pre-calculus, calculus, advanced biology if I want to score well.
So the bottom portion of this test, the usage, mechanics, rhetorical, pre-algebra, geometry, what is that in comparison to the top portion? Is it a different test, or do they pull the...
They pull that same data. It's pulling the data in a different way out to reflect what actually might be in the breakdown of English, you know, where usage and mechanics and rhetorical skills are assessed under the reading and English portion, where pre-algebra and geometry are assessed under the mathematics, and so it's a pull apart area.
Here's the challenge. This hasn't been, the ACT hasn't been aligned with the core curriculum. So, you know, we could put all our eggs in this basket and try and help our kids do well on the ACT and yet score poorly on the state assessment, because maybe that state assessment is measuring something different. So that's the frustration. You got to pick and choose sometimes about where you're really going to put your focus. But we all know college-bound kids need to score high on the ACT. It's huge when it comes to entrance and scholarships, entrance into college and scholarships. So it's hard to go wrong with investing in this.
Well, it's a continued focus on academics. Right, that's good. Thank you, Ryan.
Is that it?
Yep.
I want to comment on some of the things I've seen. I think we should say to our coaches, basketball, how professional they look over there on the bench. I think it's one of the greatest things that I've seen in a long time. And I think we just will make it public. So, if you've missed it, tie, shirt, professional. That's what we like. That's what I like. I'll just put it that way.
I feel inadequate.
You don't underdress, are you? I'm feeling pretty good.
You didn't see him Friday. Did you?
I did see him Friday.
It was blue jean then.
That needs to go.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah.
That's good, positive.
Well, I don't have a written report, but I would like to report out on some things that we're doing at the elementary. We have some family nights that we've had and some family nights that are coming, and we're having really good turnout from those events. Lots of different families coming. There's one that's through our K-3 grant that we got that is Love and Logic for all parents, that will be able to provide free training, free booklets, and dinner, and hopefully childcare too if I can find volunteers. So just so that you're aware that lots of investment from our community and from the parents out there, and the teachers that are volunteering their time or willing to give up their time to become some compensation from the grant too. So it's really been this really neat thing to have the grant, the K-3 grant in place. So glad we went for it and glad we got it. The other thing that's going on right now is our universal screenings. We do it 3 times a year to get an idea of where our kids are at in reading and math and writing. And so far, our mid-year is looking pretty good. So kids are making growth is what we're seeing, and hopefully we'll start seeing the growth is faster, a faster rate of growth, higher rate of growth than what we've seen in the past. So that's our ultimate goal.
Is there any changes or any process things going on with report cards going from, was it trimester type?
At this point, it's still trimester for this year.
Okay. And that's the plan for the rest of the year?
For this year, yep. And but teachers are really enjoying that because it gives them that much more time to identify the standards. And maybe what I'll do next report, I'll include an example of what the report card looks like so you can actually see how the standards are laid out by grade. Every single grade is different. Their standards are different, and so each teacher has to report a student a grade or score on every single standard that those kids are required to meet. So that's a challenge to get through it in a quarter.
How many standards are there?
Well, there's a lot. I want to say there's 11 for reading. It depends on the grade level. Some are more, some are higher, but you'll be able to see they're broken down by category. So literal comprehension has 3.
And that's through the entire elementary is running on that
Yeah.
same?
Yep, it's all Iowa core standards.
Okay.
Yep, but I'll bring that in next month so you can see that. Yep.
And Carrie, I don't want to blindside you, but
No.
talk just a little bit about your idea with PD
Yep.
and doing differentiated PD.
Well, we've had some talk at the admin team about having professional development and how in the past we've always had this universal in-service time. We've always done the same thing for everyone, and how it hasn't always met the needs of everyone. And so allowing teachers to kind of be a part of the planning creation of what they specifically want based on their professional growth plans, and setting their own goals, and then looking for the professional development that meets their goals, allowing teachers to be more in depth of what they want and how to build their profession, because it's more meaningful. They take away more from it if it's theirs. So we're really investigating ways to do that. I have a literacy team that is looking at how specifically to build PD as a staff, because we have experts on staff that could be giving some of our professional development, but also looking for how to grow in their own ability towards literacy specifically. Lots of interesting ways to do professional development. It doesn't have to be one way. So that's kind of what we've been talking about. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Karen.
Yep.
Okay, and then we have our transportation director, Jared, to talk to us a little bit about a need.
Yeah, need has arisen in our special education transportation. We added another gentleman that needs to get transported to Sioux City, and the current vehicle we're now using, car, is rather full. So I guess I'm recommending that we get a new van, something that I need to purchase fairly soon, probably before the next board meeting, to accommodate the transfer safely to Sioux City. Our resources and the vehicles are totally extended right now, to the point where we're gonna have to address it.
Jared has consulted with Transportation Committee and with Mr. Kramer as far as Pepple budget.
Any questions?
What are you gonna spend?
Looking at a new one, you're probably gonna be looking somewhere in the low 20s. Brand new.
For the Transportation Committee, we talked about earlier today, it's just for safety reasons and for need on some of these vehicles that again have so many miles on them that they're just not safe to run down that many miles anymore. We have one driver making one or two trips to Sioux Falls a day. We also have 1 or 2 trips to Sioux City every day, I'm assuming, with 4 people. So just for safety is something that we talked about that we're gonna have to do.
So how many, what size van or what?
We'd be looking at probably a 7-passenger. We would have 5 getting transported in it here starting Wednesday. We'll have a total with the driver. We'll have 4 passengers and a driver. Currently using Ford Taurus right now.
Okay, just, we're not taking down a covered wagon, do we?
We've tried that.
Yellow bus maybe, yeah.
But it'll get out pushed probably.
So are you gonna gather bids, competitive bids?
Yeah,
Correct?
I have actually started on that, and with new vans, it's pretty limited on who sells new vans because there's the makers, you know, Dodge, Chrysler, of course Chevy doesn't make one anymore, Ford doesn't make one anymore. So, but I have talked to like the Ford dealership in Lamar's, Voss, over in Sioux Center. But the 2 probably the closest ones that are that are actually dealers on new ones.
You could maybe check and see if, I don't know if you want to go down that road with Toyota or some of the other foreign manufacturers. I think that some of them might have a better warranty.
Yeah, they make a pretty good van. Looking service-wise, as far as being able to get things serviced
Well, that's
closer,
that's
is
the
kind of something that I really
problem.
look at. You know, being able to
That can
maybe
be
go to
a
Lamar's or Sioux Center or to get it worked on if we need to warranty-wise.
Usually it's the city every day anyway.
Yeah. I'm sure.
That's true.
That's why I said it.
That's true. That's where it'll be going. So,
You'd be saving the trip.
yeah.
Instead of coming back home, they could just sit for a while.
I'm just saying it might be worth a call. I don't know.
Yeah, I can certainly do that.
Well, at least get a competitive bid from them, because
Yep.
what you just said is really true about we're gonna be there anyway.
So basically, Jared will gather the information, he'll keep the committee in the loop. What we'd like is consensus to go ahead with the purchase, and then you'll formally approve it at the next board meeting. This just popped up. So it's not an action item tonight, but if we can get consensus so that we can move forward.
Yeah, currently, I am gonna pull one of the new Suburbans that we use for activities to do this the right way safely. And
Are there's really no vacancy with those? Okay, well, I mean, because one of my thinkings is, are we looking at a van, is that totally useful and safe too?
Will it be enough? It seems to me, since I've come on board, we've ended up with 4 or more, something like that.
Yeah, there's 4 more than when you started.
yeah, it's expanded greatly since
It's hard to tell.
You don't know.
Especially
I
on
mean,
transportation. It is.
we don't know where it'll be next week.
Yep.
And
Oh, we
legally
do have
obligated.
another child starting after the first of the year on Brenda's bus going to Ironton, so that one's gonna be within one person of being maxed out. So, I mean, we're bused and we're full.
And we're legally obligated to
We're
provide
legally
the
obligated.
information. And we want to do it safely. So,
And it won't change for next year?
It will probably change for next year.
So it could possibly be the fact that the need won't be there is great for next year.
Correct, and we would be, in that case, what we've decided, actually, why don't you answer to that, or what your plan is for that?
With the vehicle needs that we have right now, with Brenda's vehicle, which is owned by the school, that wasn't bought out of special ed funds, what I would recommend doing, this particular van or vehicle that we purchased would be Larry Clary's vehicle, which he's running the Sioux City route on a daily basis. And at the end of the year, if them gentlemen he's hauling down to Sioux City end up back in here next year, that would pretty much dissolve that route. At which, at that time, I would take that van, move that into Brenda's route, and then put hers in either on the activity side or at that point sell it, because it's gonna be to the point where it needs some updating.
What is she driving now?
She's driving, well, it's got 123,000 on it. That
That's
one's,
fine.
yeah, it's
It's one of those Plymouth vans. or
It's
Dodge.
a Chrysler, yes.
They don't run more than 120,000 miles.
So do you, I mean, is it applicable for leasing? I mean, we always talk about leasing school
Yeah,
buses.
yeah. It's a little bit different on
It is.
the vehicle end of it. It's a little harder to control because we don't always know where we're going. At the beginning of the year, I don't think we knew we were gonna be going to Sioux Falls, and we didn't know we were gonna be putting 200 miles on a day to Sioux City. I think it would be really hard to regulate, and I can't just flop vehicles around for special ed without having them put in the state, inspected, and everything done the right way. Special ed vehicles are special ed vehicles, and they've got to cover to a lot different laws and stuff than an activity vehicle is, and which we will be getting inspected on January 22 coming up. So, I mean, everything's got to be tip top with the state for transport.
I hope you're nervous. I guess, so we're going to use the lowest bid? Is that what if for applicable equipment? I mean,
No.
that's our policy.
Yeah.
as long as it's,
Take the lowest.
pardon me.
There's no need to take it bids if you're not gonna take the lowest, that I can see anyway.
Well, as long as, well, but I meant is, that's our policy.
Jared would have to have a really good, solid reason if we didn't take the lowest.
There you go.
And then we would want to listen to that reason, our transportation director.
But it does sound like this is gonna be almost immediate.
Yes, I would love to get to work on that within the next,
Yes,
address
tomorrow.
it. I would like to have it addressed early January for sure, because I'm taking an activity vehicle out of the next year to do it. And,
Okay.
you know,
Transportation committee is saying we need to do it, right?
Yes.
Super. I believe it's the consensus of the board to pursue this. Thanks, Jared.
thank you.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, Ryan.
All right, Lila and Trent, would you want to come on up?
Should mention there's a misunderstanding here. The
That's all
time
right.
here.
You're here and that's works.
Sorry.
That's all right.
We
All
were
right.
told 7 o'clock, I think.
You
Did
ready?
you say 7?
No, board
Oh.
meetings
Oh,
start at
okay.
6.
Oh, okay.
I misunderstood.
You're just fine.
Yeah,
Just
okay. While he's setting up, we partnered with the adult ESL class, and that's Brenda Venezuela. She meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the reason we partnered with her, we just wanted to make connections with the Hispanic community, more than just saying hi and hola. So now we actually are doing something with them. So what we do, we try to meet once a month. This is like our 4th time we met. And we cook something in Spanish. They cook something in Spanish for us, and then the next time we cook something in English. So we had like meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and we shared recipes, and they used their Spanish, and we used, you know, we taught them a little English, and we just had a great time. And then the next time we met, we, gosh, the last time we met, we just met just recently, we did a craft, and that was just like a little Christmas angel, and we had about 10 people that showed up. Sometimes we have like 25. And they're kind of shy when they know it's the night we're going to share, so Brenda doesn't tell them too much if we're going to show up and have an activity. But once we're there, they have such a good time, and we practice a little Spanish, they practice a little English, and we're just making good connections instead of just saying hi all the time. And that's really the whole point of it. Let's see, we did a craft, and then we had, what else did we do? I'm kind of thinking too fast. Trent, what did we do beside a craft?
Well, we've done crafts and we've done some food items. The first time we met, we kind of wanted to get together and share recipes. So we had a recipe share, and we had we did our kind of some of our American versions of food, and then the next time we met, and then they had some of theirs. So they kind of went a little overboard in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It was okay. We did a good. We had a good time, and so they really like the interaction, and that's what we've always embraced the Hispanic culture ourselves. So it was really fun to get together with them and to have these experiences, and the kids are starting to come up, when are we going to have the next one? So that's kind of neat, and you'll see Maritza in one of these that she talks to me a lot about, when's the next, is it going to be next month, or is it going to be 2 weeks from now? So it's kind of nice to see that coming around. And so.
Oh, one of the things that we did at the last one, after we did a craft, we played Christmas bingo. So it was just pictures, and then we said a word. We got kind of silly with it, and they really didn't know what a wreath was. They really didn't know what a lot of things were on there, so we had a lot of fun with that. And then they told us in Spanish what they were. Yeah, that was really just fun.
How'd you do on this
This much. I could say a few words and they could say a few back down, but it was fun.
And they're a little intimidated with all of us
Yeah.
being there too, but so we have about, what, 20,
Yeah.
20 of us or so?
Sometimes 20.
Yeah.
We're just trying to bridge the communities and just know more than just at school,
Right.
so.
So here's one with our food. We had quite a few that night. I think we had 20 of us and probably, oh geez, 20 or so plus kids. So we had quite a few here.
What's up? Did you like it? Yes. Good. Did you like it, Roberto?
There's Mom.
This was in the art room, so quite a few in there. filled up. A lot of good food that night. We'll solve that one.
The main goal that Brenda wants out of it, she's the ESL adult teacher, she wants them to practice their English. So she goes around and she says, "Are you practicing your English?" So that's good.
Here's the craft one we did. They were making little angels. I think there's a spot that you can see on there. It is right there at the bottom center. Yeah.
Finding your buttons. Finding your buttons. Just wondering. Why don't you grab a few buttons?
As far as funded
Oh, yeah. Kids loved it.
the funding money.
Oh,
Where does that come from?
we just, us.
We just kind of pool it together.
Yeah.
And we just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
We
been
just
a lot of
endeavor.
fun, and
Yeah.
yeah, there's no problem there.
It hasn't been expensive really up till now.
The first craft we had was bird feeders, and that went over real well.
Yeah, they like that.
There's one more here. All right, this one was just the most recent one, and we're doing the bingo.
And that was really a hoot.
Yeah.
Steve gave you, I am all powerful when it comes to Merry Christmas Monday Night Bingo. I make the final decisions on whether a bell is an ornament. And by the look you're giving me,
He's our funny
by the way
man.
you're looking at me, my final decision will happen to be what you want, because you scare me. All right, your next one is Christmas lights.
As you can see, they're all having a pretty good time. So we let
Here
them
we
take all
go.
those
The
home.
next one is popcorn. Popcorn.
We let them take them home, and they had a good time, and we just had a fun night. So a lot of this has just been a lot of fun, like I said, and just the communication with our Hispanic community. So
Yeah.
it's pretty neat.
So it's fun when we see them downtown, how we can actually make good connections.
Right, we actually know them,
Yeah.
so you know they know us,
Yeah.
and that's our goal. So.
Yep. That's
Any
fun.
questions?
What time of the evening do you have it?
Oh, it varies.
6:30.
Yeah,
That's when she starts, 6:30. Yeah.
with her class,
Yeah.
and so.
Tuesdays, Thursdays, 6:30. But we only meet once a month.
But we learned if we tell them ahead of time that we're doing this, they get shy.
Yeah.
So some of them don't come. So we're gonna just probably not say that.
And just show up at one of her
Just show
classes,
up,
yeah.
Who was the guy at the end that was calling bingo?
His name is Steve Pearson. He's just a good friend of ours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's funny boy with the kids. So.
Good.
So-
But we're in the school and locking it up and monitoring, so.
Right.
It's pretty secure. Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Going to have them here and just talk about the things that, we don't see this on a daily basis, and things in the outside uses of the school, this building. A lot of the time, people view the school building as, oh, it's open from 8 to 4. I'll tell you, it's 7 days a week. This place is open, usually with some activity or something, and it's very unique opportunities that might be athletic focused, might be music focused, or arts focused, or English second language learners utilizing it. It's a community building that is just not between 8 and 4 for just school-age children. We utilize this building, and we appreciate the fact that our teachers, again, are involved outside of that 8 to 4. They don't just work 8 to 4. They're working many more hours and helping the community on a daily basis.
We just appreciate the opportunity.
By
It's
choice.
fun to meet
Yeah.
with them. So thanks for that.
And I'm the elementary ESL teacher. I didn't know if you all knew that. So.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks, Brian, for enlightening that to us too. It helps. Pardon me?
Get free TV here. Sell your program.
Were you done with all yours? Okay. We'll move on to number 8, which is the informational discussion items. Ryan, did you want to go through the weight room?
Yeah, I certainly can. I attached in that information the list of all the staff members and volunteers who have access to the weight room. So that lists all staff, all board members, all volunteers, all coaches. As part of the volunteer weight room program that we talked about in August of 2012, that was when I first discussed the item. You can see the form that is filled out by the volunteer weight room supervisors. And we had, right when that first started, we had about 4 volunteers willing to staff it at different times. And so I had a number of hours open. And the goal of the program was to have the students be able to be supervised in the weight room under adult supervision, but also at a time in which it's convenient for them, which is most of the time, usually if they're not involved in activities immediately after school, from that 3:30 to 5 o'clock range is when students are most interested in utilizing the weight room. So I wanted to provide supervision. So that was my number one. The next piece came when, in talking with students who are out for athletics, they weren't able to utilize the program because they would go, it would be closed by the time they were done with practice. So then we added some more time slots from the 5 to 7 in which they could utilize the program. As I said, I didn't have a great deal of interest from the community in filling the volunteer program up until this recent, within the last 2 months. We did have a local business, unfortunately, close its doors that had a number of members utilizing that fitness center. And now I had a significant influx of people volunteering, which was beneficial for me because now it has allowed me to fill every time slot that I had open and actually generate a waiting list of 2 people. And I just got filled just last Tuesday. So I still had a number of open slots for even quite some time, even since the closing of the business. I think it's really provided what I've hoped to provide, and an opportunity for students to utilize it, because that was the goal of that facility, was to have as much student use. As being a volunteer, they do have a benefit. They do have to work during that time and actually supervise, reinforcing proper, not necessarily weight techniques, so you don't have to have a background in weight training. My expectation is that you would provide adequate supervision and then remind students that they need to clean up after themselves, putting weights back in appropriately, and also cleaning up the equipment so we prevent the spread of infectious diseases. And so we've been very successful at that. We've also had a varied group apply to be volunteers, from recent graduates to local business owners to parents. So it's been a successful program. I've been very happy with so far how it's gone. I think we definitely need to still continue to monitor and to see, to make sure that we're providing that appropriate supervision, because that's the most important piece. We have contacted our insurance carrier and let them know of the information, and did ask the questions to our school attorney if this was appropriate, and did get the answer that this was an appropriate use for the program and an opportunity to provide that supervision.
As a supervisor, are they allowed to bring someone along that maybe
Yes,
isn't?
thank you, Don. Yes, actually, as a volunteer supervisor, or actually as a staff member, they are able to bring, as long as they are with them, a guest who does not appear on that list. So myself, I could have, if my son or daughter were in college and they were no longer a student here, they could come as my guest. But they would not be able to access the room. I couldn't give them my key. I have to be present when they are utilizing the facility. And I'm allowed 1 guest, not any more than 1.
Is there a camera in the weight room?
There's actually 4.
Does it record
Oh yeah.
okay all the time?
All our cameras record.
They record, they're not just
I
time lapse.
use them quite regularly, actually.
Hey, I'm a big brother.
Never for good reason.
And actually, the benefit of the program that we currently have is we have 2 cameras in each gym also, and because of technology, I can actually watch them from my iPad at home, and I have to make sure open gyms are properly supervised and the appropriate people are utilizing our open gyms. I use it more to monitor open gyms than I do for the weight room. A weight room facility has been very well supervised and well taken care of, but sometimes in our gyms, I always worry about proper supervision during out-of-school times, and there have been times in which I monitor that via the feed, and Mr. Bach has that feed and I have that feed along with administrators, so we can access that from any location.
That we needed that clarification quite a while ago, I think, but thanks.
Don't know until we're asked.
Well, we did have trouble with the weight room when it initially first started, and in the old one, with some instances that were not good. And so we learned maybe perhaps through some of the mistakes that we did. So, thanks, Ryan. Okay, and also on this is number B, or excuse me, letter B, which is the joint board meeting with AW and us. We'd like to get back on schedule of having that. Looking at the date of January 30th, time not set, but generally, you know, it's a little flexible as far as if it's 6 or 5:30 or 6:37. This time, we talked about it at a different time of having School Board Association present a learning time for the board on good board topics that they like to go over with us at the times. We can probably choose a topic, I think, at one time with them, what they want to present, or otherwise they overview training.
Probably a good use of time with both boards there. There could be an orientation since we have new board members, but also something on goal setting between the two districts, some kind of conversation about getting the big picture. So, yeah, they're willing to facilitate whatever the two boards are wanting to focus on.
It's not free. It'll probably cost us, they're from $500 to $1,000, like that. But between, if you take the numbers of the board, whether it's 7 and 5, divide it to school districts, however way it may be, and we need to be trained. We need our chance at professional development too.
Yeah. I'll be quiet.
Thank you.
So if you look at your calendar, what does January 30th look like?
Looks like a Thursday night. I don't care.
Well, with everything that's going on at the school, Thursday night is. I mean,
we will most likely have something.
Well, I know.
there isn't one here.
And this time it would be held at West Sioux, correct? Because the last time it was held there. Yeah, unless there's too many, unless there's a
reason to do it elsewhere.
Well, it'd be in the library anyway, more than likely, because that facilitates us as long as the library's open.
Yeah, the library will be open, and actually the only activity that night is in the away, or excuse me, a home bowling, but that'd
be at the
not
bowling
like
alley.
So you're safe.
Here.
Okay.
When you move.
I guess another thing we should actually discuss is Jody, the business manager at Akron Westfield, had her baby.
Yes. Little girl.
And so Tammy's filling in her duties. Dee is filling in her duties. That's good. We will set that up for January 30th, unless there's, where it looks like we won't have enough people there to make it look good. How's everybody feel about having because that'll last, that alone, the training probably lasts an hour. So it's going to be a longer session than what, but it'll be warm there.
You've given up your night anyway.
Okay.
I wouldn't think so.
Well, you know, Randy, I guess what I'd like, could you take care of getting the school board association? And we'll take care of that? Yep. Okay. Thank you. Under new business, We have the first reading of Board Policy 300, which is the role of school district administration, through 302.8, which is superintendent consulting and / outside employment. Also be the first reading of Board Policy 605.6, which is the appropriate use of the internet. And please note that there's been a few changes made to this policy versus the one that we've had before. They're in your packet. They're not in front of you hard copy at this time. Okay. Randy, would you want to go through the MAG application?
You bet. Modified allowable growth. It's something we do each year. And we're talking about $250,000, so $250,000 coming in. The use is restricted. It's designed for at-risk programs and most closely aligned with potential dropouts. So as you can see, it funds our at-risk, counselor, and some other programs. We need to, you need to be aware that every penny of this comes from local property tax. So it's a significant amount of money. So that's why the board acts on it. 2 or 3 years ago, there was more of an issue at the state level, and they started becoming much less friendly to the applications because they were concerned about property tax rates when they were going sky high. But in my opinion and many others, this is an opportunity for us to raise money locally to do things that we think are important. And a big piece of that is helping students to graduate and stay in school.
You're saying we're going to raise the taxes?
The money will come from local property tax.
Oh,
I would like to make a prediction about tax rate, but I won't today.
What are some of the things you use this for?
Counselor, at risk to defer their salaries, their costs. Ryan, help me out on this.
Yeah, the associate's the at-risk coordinator, the alternative high school teacher, and the counselor salary. So those 3 positions spread around.
An alternative school, it's been expanded in the last year to include not only dropout prevention, but also credit recovery, so we can keep kids on track as they go through, which I think is huge, setting kids up for success.
We've currently been doing this.
Yes,
This
Anyway,
is
yes.
I mean,
This is
so this is actually in progress already. It's not like
I thought we were doing this every year.
Yeah. Every year we've been doing this. At least for 7
Not
years.
new?
Not new.
The money's new, isn't it?
No.
Same amount, or it's a little slightly higher actually.
A little higher. It's about the same amount for the past several years, I would imagine. Almost every district will levy for this.
meaning is that this is not a new tax.
Right.
This
No,
is
but it's-
something
But it'll move the tax rate up.
Yeah, we'll see.
I thought we were heading the other way. Did I get something wrong?
Yeah.
I must.
This was included in last year's tax rate.
Okay.
Okay.
so,
Pretty
yeah,
much
that's what I'm,
what, 5,000 difference, I think, but yeah, pretty much.
and it's not 250, it's 241.
I always round. Always round up.
That makes
But
me
it's
nervous.
expensive.
Okay. No.
So the millage wouldn't go up then? We wouldn't be spending.
Not because of this.
Not unless we're not following our budget.
Okay.
Thank you. On the agenda, we have in our, to go to closed session. Danny, we have to have a roll call and a,
Need a motion, I'll make it, and we'll do a roll call.
okay. Do we have a motion on, can we get a
Move to
motion?
go into closed session.
Yes, Jeff Wiles made the motion, Tim McKinney seconded the motion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. We have to be roll call.
Ken Cook,
Yes.
Don Hummel, Tim McKinney.
Yep.
Jeff Iles.
Yes.
Gary Witt.
Yes.
We got it adjourned?
We have to
Table this,
Oh.
or just,
Yeah, The action, okay, we need action coming out of closed session on what we discussed in closed session. Is there a motion on the floor? I need the motion.
Move to table.
Sorry.
Okay. Jeff Isles has moved to table. Any action concerning what we talked about in closed session? Is there a second?
Sure.
Ken Cook seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Is there any other business? If there's no other business, we need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Ken Cook, motion to adjourn, second.
Yes.
By Jeff Isles. Those all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you.
Anyway, just wanted to share this with you. If you don't want to hear it, it's okay. Find out I lost.
You lost your audience. They're headed for the
Well,
door.
hit the door then, that's fine. I'll have more information next meeting.
Actually, I think that's good data, what you're doing.
It's excellent.
Well, when you compare, well, you have comparative data, don't you?
I
You
just
find
have-
out we didn't look so bad.
We have just one. I've had one comparison.